And joining me to talk about all of this development, as well as Nigerians' homegrown solution to the COVID-19 pandemic, is scientist and Director General of the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development. That's Dr. Obi Adigwe. Dr. Obi Adigwe, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And of course, before we come and talk about the homegrown solutions, let's talk about the fact that 7 new cases of Ebola has now been discovered in the DRC as well as Equatorial Guinea. Well, right here in West Africa, what should we be doing right now to avoid getting Ebola come into Nigeria?
Yeah, Nigeria did quite a decent job about 6-7 years ago during the last Ebola outbreak, which hit the shores of Nigeria through Lagos. And a lot of lessons have been learned from that particular experience. And I'm sure you heard some members of the PTF indicate the activation of some of the critical infrastructure that should take care of any possible influx of Ebola victims into Nigeria. However, there are certain areas where we need to still put our foot down to ensure that lessons from the last outbreak are also put forward. So, for instance, in interventions, during the last outbreak, about 6-7 years ago, I'm aware that a group was put together to develop a homegrown solution to Ebola. And NIPRID was actually leading that particular intervention group. And we came up with a product called NIPRIBall, which did very well in preclinical tests. However, because that particular outbreak was controlled by public health measures, funding for the clinical trials of that particular product dried up. And so, God forbid, if Ebola comes into Nigeria today, the NIPRIBall intervention, which was developed 6-7 years ago by NIPRID, will not be able to provide an expedited response simply because we've not put in the amount of money that's required to take that particular product to clinical trials. So we need to learn from that experience and add it in the kitty currently.
Well, speaking of clinical trials, Dr. Adigwe, well, I do know that NIPRID, your agency, has actually developed a drug that can be used to manage COVID-19, talking about the Nipimune. Why is this not being used in isolation centers as well as other treatment facilities managing COVID-19 in Nigeria?
Well, you're quite right that NIPRID has done very well in developing Niprimune. The Niprimune product, which is based on a phytomedicine called Andrographis paniculata, is something that we came up with close to 12 months ago when the pandemic first hit Nigeria. And we used our artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities to predict that this particular product could have some activity against COVID-19. At the preclinical test, it did very well in terms of its influence on the CD4 count. It did very well.
We're going to have this conversation, really, especially looking at homegrown solutions to not just COVID-19, but general health situations across the globe. Well, the Director General of the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development, that's Dr. Obi Adigwe, is still with me. And of course, we're having a conversation about homegrown solutions to COVID-19. Well, Dr. Adigwe, before we went on that break, you were trying to tell us about this drug that NIPRID has developed and why it's not in the clinic, why it's not being used for treatment. And also, I do know that there was a body of experts that had, I think, a startup fund of about 100 billion that is actually headed by the Director General of NAFDAC to actually fund research. Because before we went on that break, you were telling us about the fact that you have not carried out clinical trials because of lack of funding. What happened to that group and how have they really helped in terms of finding solutions to COVID-19 in Nigeria?
So these are two separate discussions. The body of experts is for the CBN funding, and the CBN had categorized that funding for research projects focused on phytomedicinal development and vaccines research. And NIPRID has put forward somewhere between 15 and 20 applications for that particular funding. For Niprimune, The good news is that we've taken our research a step forward by applying for the listing by NAFDAC, who's the regulatory agency. And just a few days ago, the findings came out from NAFDAC that verified that this particular product was safe to use, and as such, we've gotten our listing number. And the next phase now is the clinical trials. Thankfully, 1 out of about 30 or 40 people who we've written has indicated that they will support us, and that's the West African Health Organization, who's provided us some funding all the way from Burkina Faso. It's rather disheartening that development partners, foundations and philanthropists in Nigeria, who we've reached out to also support the efforts of the Institute in bringing Niprimion and other products. Maka, let me just put you on record. Niprimion isn't the only product that we have against COVID-19. Right from the onset of the pandemic, we developed somewhere between 20 and 40 interventions. And as I'm speaking to you, I have close to between 15 and 20 various phytomedicines and other interventions at various stages of development. It's just that this is the most promising because it's already been listed, it's going to hit the market soon, and we need to get the funding to start undertaking clinical trials against COVID-19, and we really require the support of Nigerians and all well-meaning Africans to get this done.
Absolutely. And of course, you know what, we have all been talking about finding homegrown solutions. We'd have to say well done to you and your team. And of course, this is a conversation we're going to have, sometime in the future, really, talking about Nigeria providing solutions beyond COVID-19, but just general issues around the globe. Well, I am Amaka Ude, and that is your COVID-19 update for today.
Thank you for watching. For regular updates in the health sector and female research and development, click on the subscribe button right now. Remember to like and share as well.